The New York Knicks get off to an all-time start against the Utah Jazz, and it was with their old starting lineup? What?
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I'm a New York City native and a credentialed media member that's been covering the Knicks for nearly a decade. He is Kris Pursiainen. He is also a credentialed media member that's been covering the New York Knicks from MSG over the last 4 seasons. And he's a fantastic all-around NBA reporter over at Clutch Punch. Be sure to check out all of his national work there. This is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And now the #1 sports podcast network in the entire world. That's pretty cool. And Locked On Knicks is your daily podcast on the Knicks, giving you those detailed insight on your favorite team 5 whole days a week. So be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team. And because it's the single best way you can help us grow the show. And if you appreciate it, we really appreciate you being sure to subscribe. And you don't miss when we do a random Saturday morning episode like this. So that is a lot of fun. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. If you want to get right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. All right, Kris, you were there in person. The Knicks opened this game on a 23-0 run. That is the single best start for a team in any NBA game in the play-by-play era since the 1997-1998 season. That's a crazy stat. I would have assumed at some point, like the Steph Warriors went up like 28-0 or something in a game. It was particularly amazing because Larry Markkinen missed like 2 layups in the first 10 seconds that both should have gone in and put the Jazz up 2-0, and they never got that close again. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Deuce staying absolutely searing, smoking, red hot in this one, and the old starting lineup being back with OG Anunoby. But let's begin with that start. I mean, what was that like in person?
I bring binoculars to the games. I think I'm the only person that does it, and I'm 23. I'm like an old man up there, man. It was a fun game for pretty much everything else but the basketball. Like, I watched the Knicks bench a lot with my binoculars. I watched the interactions between the Knicks players a lot with my binoculars. I will never claim to be able to read their lips, but I can tell you, and for those only listening, here's an incentive to check out the YouTube. I can tell you after someone has a defensive miscommunication that my bad is a little different than no, that's your fault. Where were you? No. So, like, here's the play that stood out to me most. And how nice is this that I watched 48 minutes of NBA basketball and I've got one play for you. But it's less that, and it's more that this really mattered to me. And I think this matters more to the Knicks. And it should matter more to you, the listener, than the historic first quarter. Josh Hart lost art in the NBA as the post-entry pass. Thanks, nerds. You ruin everything, I say as the finger points loudly at myself. Josh throws a post-entry pass into Carl, bounces off his hands, goes out of bounds. Gavin, fill in the blanks. What happens next? Do we get a complaint to the ref? Do we get both of them looking at the coach with their palms up in the air going, that's not my fault?
I follow you on Twitter, Kris, so I know they immediately went over and talked it out with each other, which I saw. I was doing our national podcast, Locked On NBA, last night, so I just watched the game this morning. I saw the play. I was like, oh, that's what Kris tweeted about. It was cool.
So they immediately, Carl literally ran over to Josh, even though the Knicks called timeout. Like, he wasn't in a rush, but he's like, no, before we huddle, I got it. He goes to Josh. They both look right up. They're talking about it. They discuss. They look at the replay. The replay takes a little bit, so they're like, we'll just go to the huddle. From the huddle, they look, they talk it out. They're like, okay, we're good. Like, we just figured out what happened, and now we got it. As opposed to carrying this resentment with you for the rest of the game that your mom didn't let you get the Lego set you wanted, and now you're going to ruin her trip to the Rockefeller Christmas tree. Like, I don't know.
That's not very specific and personal.
There was a group of loud teenagers on the train last night talking about their flights to Rome being delayed, and it inspired me.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that was a good note. It happened twice. I don't know if they had the talk after the first time or the second time, but it is good to see because I've talked about with Kat, like, where I'm I think somewhere down the middle on how negative I get on Cat, but I do think there is a corrosive effect to like Josh and Mikhail in particular, like holding their hands up and looking at the ceiling a lot of time when Cat seemingly makes a mistake in pick and roll coverage. I'm not convinced that it's 100% always on him. Again, that stuff is so hard to know without knowing what the scheme is, but it's great to see them proactive. And I hope that is something Mike Brown is actively encouraging, because to your point, like on nights like this, when things are going well and you just have like the space emotionally to do that, like when it's not in the heat of a really close game, like I think it is great to like mutually build up that goodwill. So I'm with you. I think that is an important thing and a cool thing. It wasn't just the 23-0 start, the 41-13 lead, 28-point advantage. That was the largest first quarter lead the Knicks have had in the play-by-play era since 1997. That is pretty incredible. And again, like to your point, no one should read too much into this. The Jazz are maybe 10, 15% better than they've been the last couple of years. They're still one of the worst teams in the NBA. I will say one thing I have been consistent in calling for over the last 2 seasons from the New York Knicks is you just want to see like stretches of play that they completely own, no ambiguity, where they look like a dominant team. And ideally that comes in some form or fashion against the better teams in the NBA outside of like opening night when they got up to a really good start. I'm sure there's a game or two I'm missing there. By and large, we haven't really seen that from the Knicks. Maybe the first half of the first game against the Bucks, things were really clicking. Like it was nice to see them just put like foot to butt, for lack of a better term, for a quarter and just kind of like keep pushing. Like they did let Utah moderately back into the game. Jazz cut it to 19 at one point, and then immediately Jalen Brunson and Deuce McBride combined to hit like 7 threes over the last 11 minutes of the third quarter and like immediately rip this one away. Like I think just a clinical performance by and large on both ends of the floor. And that's not something like we've seen consistently from the Knicks against the worst team. They've been good against the worst teams in the league, but in terms of just pure Thunder-esque dominance, that hasn't quite been there. And I do think that is a quality of a championship team. Again, it remains to be seen whether the Knicks are turning that corner, because they actually have to do it against the best teams in the league where they've had major ups and downs so far. But I like seeing flashes of that from the New York Knicks. But when we come back,
this sounds a lot like a guard heuristic that I very much follow, and it's funny because you know who it applies to, and how we'll loop this all in after the break.
Keontae George.
Yeah, you know what? Sure, yeah, no, totally not the guy who went 7 of 10 from 3, man. No, sure, yeah. Actually, it's I don't know, Tony Roten. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. We got Walter Clayton Jr. All right, we'll be back in just a sec here on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about our good friends over at DoorDash. The season's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. If you're a Jazz fan, you were stressed last night. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need that dessert now. I was craving some insomnia cookies last night. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. All right, we are back here on Locked On Knicks. Kris, you wanted to talk about Deuce McBride, who is now shooting. Yeah. I picked it up. It took me. I had to like process it in the background, that whole commercial read. 46% from 3 on the season, 27 of his last 41. Last night, a casual 7 of 10, 22 points. They came in his first 15 minutes on the court. Third straight game where he's just been ridiculous.
Good golly, man. I mean, listen, I said this last night. If you told me right after the game that he was 7 of 7, I would have been like, yes, he was. And I know I watched him miss them. Like, it's not like I was on my phone. I saw the misses. I just don't remember them. They genuinely don't stick out in my memory enough to be worth holding on to, apparently. Like, I think when he shoots an open enough three, when the ball's in midair, I'm like, if that doesn't go in, it's not his fault. Does that make any sense? Like, every time
the same way. Like
every time he gets the shot off, I feel both confident because of his recent history, but also seeing the mechanics, especially in person, like being able to track his finger. And the Knicks are really, I'm going to hold off on nerding out too much here because I am trying to do some reporting, some interviewing, some articling. But they're getting to the darn fundamentals when it comes to their jump shots. And you could just see it. Like, you're like, that was perfect. If that doesn't go in, that's not his fault. That's a perfect rep. Like, everyone on the staff should be happy with that shot. Regardless, if it could airball, everyone on the staff should be happy with that shot. And I do think this reminds me of a way that I was taught to evaluate guards, particularly ahead of potential NBA career. Above the break three, PD Webb, very, very,
love
very,
PD Webb. Dude, long time guest on this podcast, PD Webb.
So if you know, you know. And basically, one of these pieces he wrote a while back, it was a guard heuristic piece talking about how if you're evaluating a guard prospect, you want to see the easy stuff and you want to see the hard stuff. You want to see both. Everything can't look hard for them, but everything can't look easy either. They need to be able to do both. Because if everything looks easy, then they're playing with such a talent disparity that you can't fairly evaluate them. And if everything is hard, then they have the talent deficit. And your evaluation is that they're not as good as whoever they're playing. And Deuce McBride is like this guard that makes absolutely no darn sense when it comes to this stuff. And it's because I do kind of see him as a wing. And I think I've told you as much by comparing him offensively to OG Anunoby, more so than any other guard on the team. But the Knicks last night, they showed you the easy stuff. They had a franchise high, right? Was it 47 points in the third quarter? It's the most points in the third quarter ever scored by the team. They got off to the big start. But they also, like, in tough moments or when the Jazz were shifting and then playing good defense, like, they got stuff done too, and Deuce got stuff done too. Now, Deuce had no makes from inside the three-point line yesterday. I'll go to you here on that. Do you care? Like, it's Utah and it's a huge blowout. So does it mean anything to you that?
No.
Okay, so like we're not looking for him to necessarily shake and bake and pull up for a midi to prove that he's a good player against the Utah Jazz. What he has done is provided the Knicks with an elite hyper specialization of what they need out of him, but he can also drop Evan Mobley. You know what I mean? Like, he can also do a little ball handling. So I think we've kind of only seen the easy stuff from Deuce this year in terms of that guard heuristic. Jalen showed us the hard stuff all year last year. Everything was hard for because that's how things are set up.
Yeah.
Everything's been easy for Deuce this year. Like, Jalen and Carl are going to make things difficult for themselves when they want to, because that's why they're good. Like, they're going to score also. That's kind of their thing. Mike Brown is learning to deal with. He's learning that if Cat has a mismatch, he's just going to take it. That said, Deuce, the random coast-to-coast bucket is like his only breakout of his like coding, which is I'm an elite 3-and-D guard / wing.
Yeah.
Like, Ayo Dosunmu does more ball handling. Colin Gillespie does less. Like, you know what? Like, it's hard to describe him. What do you make of his style of play? Do you think this hyper specialization is the best of him, or is it just how he's best for this team, or neither?
No, I think this is probably just who he is in the NBA. I don't think he's Emmanuel Quickley, where it is scalable. Like, he's just not that level of passer, like the flashes I've seen people making the comp between him and Quickley. I've seen people comparing him to Grimes. Like, Grimes was like a legitimate toast the closeout and make a play off it. And not that like Deuce can do that on occasion, like once every couple of games, like Quentin Grimes consistently like blow by and like acrobatic wraparound pass at the rim. And a lot of that is just that Grimes was 6'5". It quickly is like really, really great. Maybe not great vision, but like good vision, point guard instincts at his position. And also just how fast, like Deuce is very fast, quickly, name implies it, in a different category. So like I immediately go to,
well done
guards there. It is interesting because while you were talking, I was thinking about this, like in the preseason, we kept talking about like the bag that Deuce had developed. And we're saying like, man, like he's cooking people off the dribble. And like, it was probably obvious that in the regular season, he was not going to have the leeway to do that as much. Like he's finishing better this year. I think a lot of that is like, he seems like he's always been in good shape, but
he's a tank.
Athletically, like, yeah, he's sculpted, not to go too far down this lane, but like he's like sculpted this year in a way that I've never really seen from him. Like he is in like you make the OG Anunoby comp. This is the closest pound for pound, physically, like he's ever looked to an OG Anunoby type player. Like athletically, I think he's at his apex right now. And that's why you get like, there is a level of fearlessness from him in transition that I've not seen in the past. And especially last season where he just had like an awful finishing season. And so often in transition, he was just out of control. I think where you see that improved handle is in the consistency of his off the dribble three. Like he's getting into that shot more often and finishing more off it. Like the one dribble snatch back. Like he hit one of those against the Pistons. I think it was maybe late in game 4, late in game 5. I don't quite remember, but it was a huge gutsy shot. I'm like, man, he had the balls to take that there. And it's more often this year because he clearly just spent the whole summer refining it, perfecting it. And I think people at home, like Kris, you know this better than I do, as someone who actually covers this team and the NBA as a whole every single day, like the level, like the bar for using a move consistently in a game is so incredibly high. It could be something you've done your entire life and at a high level, like at the Division I level, and you might not be able to get to it in the NBA because these guys are just so quick, so athletic, and so keyed in on everything you want to do. And it has to be to a point where a defender absolutely knows it's coming. And it's like Jalen Brunson, like it works every time. Anyways, and Deuce is getting there with his off the dribble three, like when he's getting a closeout right, pump, sidestep, drain it. Like we are seeing a guy who has poured his 10,000 hours into his footwork and like can just consistently get into his shot. And I think that is combined, which is better usage and more strategic usage from Mike Brown than we ever got from Tom Thibodeau. And I don't want to crap on Tom Thibodeau. Like he's the reason Deuce is who he is, and not the reason. He's a reason Deuce is who he is in the NBA. Like he did a great job developing him, but we're seeing stuff from Deuce like guard screens with Jalen Brunson. Like Brunson set him a screen in this game. I don't ever remember seeing that under Tom Thibodeau, and he used it to get a step back three. There was a play where he got a Spain pick and roll. He pops, he gets the ball back, he swings it to Diawara. And this is like not a complicated action, but it is like a staple of Steph Curry and Golden State that Mike Brown has seen a million times, where he whips the ball cross court to Diawara, dead sprint, get it back on a dribble handoff, pop a three. And it's so clear that like Mike Brown is leaning into how good he is in terms of usage, and that Deuce is ready for that opportunity. I know I'm rambling. So final thing here, he is now first on the New York Knicks in net rating. OG Anunoby was so far ahead of everyone on this team, but in 512 minutes, a plus 12.6 net rating per cleaning the glass. Knicks offense 11 points better when he's on the floor. That is a 94th percentile offensive impact. Start my boy, Kris. Start my boy.
I think he weighs more than he's listed at.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely just more muscle than he's ever been.
Right. But I think it might be like a lot more than
he's listed at. Like he's like, we're talking like 330, 340. What do we?
What kilogram? So basically that's funny because the kilograms go the other way. So anyway, if you didn't laugh, now laugh. So essentially I think he might weigh like 10 pounds more than he's listed. I'm gonna do some digging. I'll do some asking because I'm not trying to.
I love you doing like an article where you're like, yeah, I had Deuce McBride like stand on my chest, and he definitely weighs more.
I listen. KP finds out. You know we're gonna do what it takes. No, but seriously, the coast to coast scoring and like in transition, like that's because of the muscle.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. The other things that are from muscle that people kind of underrate, or not underrate, but I think just forget to think about is like core balance, right?
For sure.
Punch dribble, a hard dribble where your feet go one forward, one back, and you're dribbling forward and you punch dribble and your feet are side to side, you're ready to shoot. So if you're watching, I gave you a demonstration with my fingers. If you're listening, you probably want to throw me off a cliff. But the pop back up from a punch dribble, you need to pop up into step 2 of your jump shot. Like, you don't have time to then be like, all right, guys, okay, Southwest, here we go for 3. Like, you need to pop.
Is that a direct quote from Richie Guerin, by the way?
Oh my God, you're a bad guy. Don't get me JJ Redick, man. Plumbers. So basically, I do think there's something to his core strength, his weight balance, when he is popping up and shooting, because he's in his own world.
Yeah.
Like, your closeout doesn't matter. Maybe you'll block him, but he doesn't even see you. Like, he is just into his shot. And if you saw his post-game interview with the press last night in the locker room, he's cool as a cucumber about it too. So we could talk about the lineup that you want him to be part of, that you think he's earning a spot in when we return. But, with regard to the case he's making, Gavin, Mike Brown agrees with you. He told reporters last night after the game that he was planning on starting Josh over Deuce, but he would be lying if Deuce hadn't made it really hard recently. And he said his biggest challenge right now is getting Deuce more minutes without playing him 17 uninterrupted. So, good problem to have.
You know what? The really good news is, if Mike Brown agrees with me, he's the one person who has the power to do something about it. We'll talk about it in just a sec right here on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. NFL Sundays, they move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so incredibly exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. Player props update as a guy heats up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. My New York Giants have blown more 10-point leads than any team in NFL history. So if the Giants go up by a lot, that feels like a safe bet to me. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, let's talk starting lineup. We got OG Anunoby back after missing 9 games, if I'm remembering correctly. First of all, welcome back, OG. I thought it was just funny. Like, this is a quick aside. Comically fast impact of like exactly what we've talked about the Knicks missing. Like, if people have been tuning in for the last few weeks, they've seen me like tied up in a straitjacket, foaming at the mouth, talking about how the Knicks missed OG Anunoby as a low man helper. And literally the first play of the game, Svi Mikhailuk, Oak, right? Toasts Jalen Brunson off a closeout. And immediately OG Anunoby from the left wing rotates over, gets a great contest, and Svi panics and just throws the ball right to Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm like, yep, that's what they're missing. Like, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to quote our guy Tommy Tibbs. You don't have to watch the game 5 times. Like, you just see it right away. And that's what I love about OG Anunoby, right? Like, it's not really like defense is sometimes hard for people to pick up on, even people like us who do this for a living. OG makes it just very, very obvious. It is a small sample size, but the old starting 5 that started again this year has played 101 possessions on the season. They have a plus 34.6 net rating. That is 95th percentile. Obviously, that was substantially buoyed by just like the borderline war crimes that happened to the Utah Jazz last night. Even before that, they were plus 21. It is too small of a sample size to have any declarative conclusions about it. I'm fascinated if Mike Brown sticks with it to see how it looks against the Raptors in the in-season tournament game on Tuesday. Before that, the Magic on Sunday. That is a very real team that has bullied the Knicks twice this year. What are your thoughts on the old starting 5 being back together?
I never once. I never said I never said the Knicks should abandon that lineup. I did write several times that it should not be the only lineup they play for 70% of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's not a benefit unless it's the Monstars. It's not smart unless they're Curry, Brunson, James, Durant, and Mikan. I mean, I don't know what lineup, how good a lineup has to be to play that much, but they were bad. So even if, right, like that's gotta, something else has gotta be.
That's why Mike Brown is the coach of this team.
Yeah, and so like this lineup, let's do it. Let's, you know what? Let's just. I was nearing it. Let me just say the line. Let me say the line. The Boston Celtics did not win the NBA championship because they played 5 out. They won the NBA championship amid 5 out being the Mavericks' poison of choice. And the reason I repeat this over and over again, the reason I'll never let this go, is because we watched the NBA as a league react to that championship by going, oh, cool, we just need to make our roster like the Celtics and everyone can shoot. It's like, nope. They have 5 guys that can drive and make the right read. 4 of them are star-level players. You don't have that. The Knicks, this lineup needs to be an option because it is a good option, but it can't be the lineup. Like, it can't be the only lineup. So, to me personally, this old starting lineup is great for the regular season, right? And when the Knicks get to the postseason, if Mitchell Robinson is not starting, that's okay. But I would almost kind of still expect him to. That said, Josh starting doesn't mean Mitch won't be closing. If Mikal is having a bad shooting game, I feel like he's the kind of guy who's going to stay on the court anyway. Like, same with OG. So I can't really foresee the future, but I can say the Knicks should continue to stick with this lineup with the starters just because, Mitch is playing in stints and spurts, as I was talking about with XJ. This makes more sense.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? That like, if he's going to do these spurts of play, it doesn't make sense to quote unquote waste one in the first 3-4 minutes of the game.
Sorry, I missed it. You're talking about Deuce?
Mitch.
Oh, Mitch. Yeah.
These stints and spurts that Mitch is playing in, like there's only going to be so many. Does it make sense to use one from 12 minutes left to 7 minutes, 37 seconds left in the first quarter?
I got you. I almost have not put too much thought into it so far just because like Mitch has not really been Mitch this year. And I'm almost not like the Knicks have been worse when he's been on the court this season. And that and maybe that's short-sighted to me, like given like we saw in the playoffs what he can do. And like, if we assume he's going to get there, but I'm almost not thinking too much of the Mitch of it all. Like to me, it really is like a Deuce versus Josh combination. And maybe there is a world where we get to a point where Cat and Mitch together is so, and the numbers for them, like I haven't looked in last week, but up to that point, the numbers for them are excellent. So I don't want to totally poo-poo it. Like it just seems like they're against Cleveland. Like I think that was maybe Mike Brown's impetus for starting the year with that lineup. That lineup makes a lot of sense against the Cavs, even though Cleveland certainly has ways to exploit it with the speed at which they move the ball and how electric they are, and like how often they're going to put someone like Cat in ball screens, and like how distorted your defense can get if you're a little bit slow at the big spot. Like eye test wise, those two together have not looked good enough to me that like I am like putting any significant amount of weight into planning my rotation around Mitch's minutes, like whether he starts, whether he closes. Like it's not that important to me. Like if I'm looking at like what I think it's going to be going forward, and that and like that is that I think it will either be Hart or Deuce. Like I don't need to repeat it. Like I made my point clear a million times on this podcast. Like Deuce is like, we have a couple year track record of him being the single most impactful, or like right there with your 3 stars in OG, Cat, and Brunson, like your single most impactful on-off guy on the team. Like if he is, and if he's gone from a good to very good shooter to an elite shooter, like that only adds to that. And I also like Schwinn's been really good about talking about this a lot. Like I think it is hard to parcel out your wing minutes when you are starting the only 3 of them that you have on the roster together. And all that being said, I want to make clear, like, I think it's plausible that Mike Brown makes this lineup work a lot better than Tom Thibodeau did. This game is just not evidence of that to me in any way. Like I need to see it against a team like the Celtics that are as aggressive in punishing Cat for his specific weaknesses as any team in the NBA. Like when I see this lineup on the floor working well against Boston or against like the Magic or against the Thunder or against the Rockets, then I can turn the corner on it. But I need to see it to believe it, because to your point, like we did get a sample size unlike anything in modern NBA history for one lineup, and it didn't work last year.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
And it's my last thought of the day. I think
Sure.
I'm out of fuel after this one. It's live.
Yeah.
But
tough news for your day job, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Why is this team so different when OG Anunoby is back? Like what? Yes, it's the Utah Jazz. But and when I say literally, I mean we literally just watched the Knicks blow like a 20-point lead 2 different times. I don't think either time it was to a team that's seen as a contender. So why? What do you think? I have a theory, but it's meaningless. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm curious what your theory is, because mine is not anything more than the obvious. Like I said it on the podcast yesterday, like you're not getting one defensive player back in a sense. You're getting 3, like what he does. Point of attack, gap help, and then at the rim, like really all 3 levels, like behind the arc. Like to me, the biggest thing is like it is a weighted blanket type deal where like I said the same phrase to you, when he's not on the floor, even when it's Cat and Mitch, they just feel a little bit small, a little bit meek to me. And OG like single-handedly brings them enough of that like identity they had in 23-24 with him, with Hartenstein, with Randall, that like they kind of have best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think it might have to do with okay, I don't know. Say you and 3 other kids are in a group project and you're 7 years old. And the group project is to put 30 minutes of work into building a Lego. And whatever you get, you get. If the 3 kids around you are kind of just la-di-da, lackadaisical, as Clyde likes to say, and just kind of attaching pieces here and there, they're doing the assignment. They're doing what they're being told to do, but they're not living and dying with every brick. You're going to sit there and have some fun too. Maybe that'll motivate you. Oh, maybe I can have more fun if I do more. But we're body doubling humans. That's who we are. That's what we do. So I think OG is the kid out there that like you look down and you pick out one block and you look up and he has effectively built a dragon, and it also like the tail moves and it breathes fire. He is setting the tone, but with physicality. I think these guys set the tone. I think they lead by example. And listen, watching OG Anunoby from hundreds of feet away, I see he stunts. He does these quick, precise, exact jerking, like, but so controlled movements. Yeah. And it's terrifying for offensive players, but it's also inspiring for teammates. So OG, yeah, clap it up for him, because the tone was different.
There's a reason he gets paid what he gets paid. He's a defensive genius. He has been worth every penny for the New York Knicks. They get a big win. We'll be back talking recap of that Magic game, quarter season review, in-season tournament recap, all coming next week here on Locked On Knicks. But for Kris, I'm Gavin. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll talk to you soon on Locked On Knicks.